Hello, my dear Pioneer viewers. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war. In a moment, we will tell you about an incredible development behind the front line. As it is known, war is a multi-faceted phenomenon. This side that dominates all the aspects is always advantageous, and the one who evaluates the war only in terms of military superiority fails. The all-out struggle of the Ukrainian army and the Ukrainians confirms this. As it is known, the Ukrainian partisan groups fighting for Ukraine since the beginning of the war have carried out critical operations in many points under the Russian occupation. During these operations, many command centers and critical names of the Russian army were targeted. Recently, Ukrainian partisan groups reappeared and carried out an incredible operation. What are the details of this operation? Let's examine it together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. The presence and operations of the partisan groups in the Russian-occupied territory of Ukraine is of great importance. They are one of the biggest obstacles to the authority that the Russian military wants to establish there. Thanks to the presence of these groups, Ukrainians living in the occupied territories have more faith in freedom. Another remarkable detail about these groups is that they are able to hide themselves quite well. Throughout the two-year war, these groups have carried out many critical operations, but for the most part, they have not been caught. In fact, the headquarters of the Ukrainian Sabotage group hiding after an attack on the Russian outpost was recently discovered, but they were not caught. This clearly shows how professional Ukrainian sabotage groups are. In recent days, Ukrainian sabotage groups appeared on the scene again. Their target was a Russian ammunition depot. So far, there is no detailed information on where this operation took place. However, the majority of our sources claim that the operation took place on the Crimean Peninsula. As we have often stated in our map reports, the Russian army is using a full-load strategy on the Kherson front line. Regular army operation in response to guerrilla operations by the Ukrainian armed forces there will not lead to withdrawal of Ukrainian troops. But despite this, the Russian army is persistent. Therefore, new ammunition is constantly being delivered to the Crimean Peninsula, the region to the closest on the Kherson front line, and these ammunitions are kept in the warehouses. These warehouses are of a critical importance for the Ukrainian sabotage groups because Ukrainian sabotage groups made a great contribution to the Ukrainian army through their attacks on these areas. These contributions are of a great importance for the Ukrainian troops to break the Russian pressure on the front line. Recently, Ukrainian sabotage groups discovered a new ammunition depot. Moreover, this ammunition depot had just been built and shipments had not started long ago, and the Ukrainian sabotage groups monitored this depot for some time. Their aim was to destroy the depot as soon as it was filled to full capacity. The waiting time was not long. Allegedly, within a week or two, the ammunition depot was at full capacity. Now it was time for the operation, and the Ukrainian sabotage groups prepared an operation plan. According to this plan, they would act at night. There were sentries around the ammunition depot at night, but there was also a problem with the guards. As we have stated in our many reports that we have prepared as a Pioneer team, one of the biggest problems in the Russian army is lack of discipline. There are big discipline problems in the Russian army, and the Russian armed forces have not been able to solve this problem, even though 2 years have passed since the beginning of the war. Frankly, we don't think that this problem can be solved in the short term. We have information from local sources that the Russian soldiers fell asleep during their guard duty. This made it easier for the Ukrainian saboteurs. Some sources even claim that the soldiers on guard duty were drinking alcohol. Of course, Ukrainian saboteurs took advantage of the fact that the Russian sentries were asleep. Approaching close to the ammunition depot, the saboteurs planted several bombs around the depot. These bombs were remotely controlled. In addition, the Ukrainian saboteurs poured gasoline around the building as the precautionary measure to increase the damage. After all the preparations were completed, the saboteurs left the area. From a suitable distance, the remote control button was pressed. The activated bombs exploded with a great noise, and the ammunition in the ammunition depot was also blown up by the impact of the bombs. At night was almost lit up, And according to reports, the sound of explosions were heard almost all over the Crimean Peninsula. Sources also claim that many of these soldiers on guard duty were injured or killed in the explosion. This attack was unexpected because for a long time Ukrainian saboteurs had not carried out such an operation, and the Russian military was shocked. Millions of dollars worth of ammunition had been destroyed in a half-an-hour operation carried out by the Ukrainian saboteurs at night. Moreover, this attack could have been prevented. However, the fact that the Russian soldiers slept during their guard duty did not prevent this attack. The Russian administration in the areas occupied by the Russian armed forces immediately launched a major investigation into the matter. Ukrainian saboteurs are being sought all over the Crimean Peninsula. However, as we have already mentioned, Ukrainian sabotage groups have carried out many successful operations so far, and the Russian administration has launched investigations each time. However, these investigations have not yielded any results. I can say that the Ukrainian sabotage groups could increase such attacks in the coming days because there is an incredible pressure on the Ukrainian army. Russian armed forces are increasing their pressure to the advance, and the ammunition losses of the Russian army will prevent this pressure further increasing. Each loss of ammunition allows the Russian army to reduce its speed. Of course, the Ukrainian army should not stand idle in this process, and it should support Ukrainian sabotage groups, especially with missile attacks and drone attacks. In such coordination, the attack's potential of the Russian army will be further reduced. The Russian leader Putin's resistance is putting the Russian people in a more difficult situation every day. The ammunition in this destroyed ammunition depot is bought with the taxes of the Russian people. The economic devastation caused by the Russian army causes the Russian people to face heavier taxes. Therefore, many Russian citizens are very uncomfortable with the continuation of the war. So what do you think? Do you think that the attacks of the Ukrainian sabotage groups will help the Russian army to reduce its attacks? Or do you think that the discipline problem in the Russian army will grow? What should the Ukrainian army do at this point? Do you think that the Ukrainian army's drone strikes can support Ukrainian sabotage groups? Write it down in the comments, because I read and I care about all of the comments.